Right, I'm going to teach you exactly how to go from absolutely nothing to $10,000 a month or in 1 month with a skill, one singular skill, by turning it into a business. I did this exact thing. I just literally followed this process about 2 months ago at the time of making this video, where I speed ran from absolutely nothing to $10,000 as quickly as I could with a skill that I didn't even have to prove to you guys and to my audience on other platforms that it's entirely possible. And now I want to make a bit of a longer form video about it. This isn't going to be going into detail of the business that I kind of created around it, but the framework that I use. And this video isn't going to be all funky with editing and perfectly timed clips to just massage your dopamine receptors. No, this is going to be like a straight up no BS video. And if you can't watch it, that's on you. That's your fault because you don't have the attention span. But let's jump into it. The first thing you need to do to actually go from absolutely nothing to $10,000 as quickly as possible is actually have a skill of value that you can sell to people, because this is going to be your vehicle. Okay, this is a thing that you can actually offer to people, you can solve a problem with, and people will pay you money as a direct result for. Now, whenever I say skill, that is typically your people's biggest issue. They're like, oh, I have no idea what skill to go with. I don't have any skills. I don't know where to start. I don't know what skills to look at. And I'll say there's a few options. Option number one is to identify your unfair advantage. Okay, your unfair advantage being something about you that you have an advantage in, something that just gives you that edge upon other people. That's number one. That's how I found my original skill of social media management, in which I developed like down the road into something else. That's option one. Option two is just to go with something that works. Like, that is literally it. Not all businesses are started with skills that you have to necessarily be amazing at, that you have to have and you have to be an absolute expert at. A lot of the time, these businesses are started with skills that you may not have, but that you're willing to learn, you're willing to develop, and you're willing to improve, and you have somewhat of an understanding in. If you have that, perfect. Next thing you want to focus on is make sure that that skill is a high income skill and it's a results generating skill. Because when you talk about skills, you've got two different options. You've got a convenience based skill, or you've got results generating skill. Convenience based skill is a skill that you would sell to someone because it's a convenience to them. For example, managing a restaurant's social media, where I started off, it's a convenience based skill. It doesn't generate them a direct result unless obviously you're working on their social media to generate leads. But if you're just managing social media, it's convenience. It doesn't necessarily do anything for them, but it's something that they may pay money for because they don't want to do it themselves. That's absolutely fine. But there is a cap, there's a limit, there's a ceiling above your head with how much money you can actually be paid for that skill, because it's convenience based. Results based, on the other hand, are basically skills that will generate a direct result for the person that you're selling it to, or the problem that you're solving, or the person that you're helping solve the problem, right? And that is the side of things that you want to focus on, purely because results generating skills mean that you can actually make more money from them. You know, let's just take, for example, copywriting, Facebook ads, something like that. And these are very, very generic, but they're examples. If you're running Facebook ads for a company, your skill is going to result in direct generated revenue for the company, right? If that is the case, then you can make more money from it, because you can charge a higher kind of like value proposition, or you are targeting a higher value proposition, therefore you can make more money. So you want to make sure that your skill targets a necessity and not a convenience, okay? This company or this person or this professional needs your service as per to, yeah, it wouldn't be bad to have it, you know, it would save me some time, blah, 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 because that's where the money comes from. And it doesn't mean because you have the skill of something like video editing that doesn't generate someone direct money that it isn't a results generating skill. Typically, whatever skill you have, as long as you can find the right market and the right person that actually will make money off your skill, you're absolutely fine. When I say video editing, you wouldn't think, oh, that's a direct results generating skill for someone. Typically, it's convenience because you're editing someone's video because they don't want to do it. What if, however, I said that if you were to work with a fitness professional that gets all of their clients from their video content, that way, if you are editing their videos and they get a client, that is a direct results generating skill. So you can make a convenience skill and turn it into a results generating skill. You just basically got to be smart with it. If you are, you're absolutely fine. And if you don't know what skill to go with, I'll leave a list of like 20 skills down below so you can check them out, like 20 high income skills that would typically just be exclusive to Kaizen Connected members. But hey, I'm feeling nice. Take a look at those skills. They may not all suit you, but if you can just find one that you have somewhat of an understanding in, or you have an interest in, absolutely go for it and you'll be absolutely sorted. Step two is to identify a problem. Okay, identify a pain point that your skill can solve, because money is made when you solve problems. Money isn't necessarily made of something that's nice. It's a nice addition to have. You want to solve a problem, and first, before you can solve the problem, you need to identify the problem that you can solve. Only once you've done that can you actually solve it. So go problem hunting. If there is already a skill that you have that you're good at, that's absolutely fine. You got to find the problem that your skill can solve, okay? Now, this is going to be specific to your market, to the person that you actually want to serve with your skill, but really identify the problem and pull out the problem, rinse the problem, expand the problem, really try and map it out from A to Z. This is a problem this person has, and it's a painful enough problem that they need to have it solved, and here's the solution that I can provide to this problem. All businesses, no matter what you look at, solves a problem, okay? A lot of the time, these problems are solved in very kind of particular ways. It doesn't seem that obvious, but every single skill solves a problem, or every single service business solves some kind of problem. I mean, look around your room, right? The majority of things around you probably do solve a problem. I have a light behind me. It solves the problem of me not having enough light. I have a phone in front of me. It solves countless problems. I have a glass in front of me. It solves the problem of needing to contain water. And obviously those problems get more and more in depth depending on the service that you're selling, right? Because only once you identify the problem, then you can actually move on to trying to find out who has that problem. If your skill is copywriting and the problem you've identified is people not making enough money through the ads that they're running because their copy is bad, boom, there's 2 steps done. Now you've got to find the person or the industry or the market that has that problem that you can actually solve, provide the solution to, which basically just means that you need to do your research, right? It's really not too complicated. You need to find the people that have the problems that you can solve, and then obviously you can provide the solution to them. Until you do that, obviously you can't move on to the next step, so you're going to be stuck there. So focus on identifying the market that needs your problem and doesn't only need it as a convenience, but needs it as a necessity. You know, you're not going to provide your website optimization service to, let's just say, a fitness coach who gets their clients for Instagram. They don't need that necessarily. That's like a convenience. It's not a necessity. However, the e-com brand that needs to have a good website to increase conversions will need your website optimization service. So don't only find the people that will pay for your service, but find the people that will pay the most amount of money for your service because they need your service. They desperately need it to actually run their business and to make money for themselves, right? And then once you've done that, now you can move on to step 4, which is actually creating your own solution to the problem. And when I say creating the solution, I don't just mean like identify someone has bad copy on their website, boom, I'm going to do copywriting for them. You really need to like create the solution. You need to map out your service delivery and actually how you're going to deliver the solution from absolutely A to Z. You know, the analogy I like to use is that if you were a coach trying to train someone that has no running experience to running a marathon in 2 months' time, what would you make them do? What would you make them eat? What would you make them drink? How often would you make them sleep? How would you make them train? This is the same thing with the service you're providing. You really need to map out your service complete A to Z from how you're going to transform someone from where they are to where they need to be. So when I say create your solution, I basically mean like identify and create your service, and your service needs to be a direct problem solver of the problem that they have. Okay, you know, really map it out A to Z. Don't leave any stone unturned. The more detailed you can be with how you're going to solve their problem, the better, because it means that when you do inevitably get a client with the service or the skill that you have, you know how to deliver it. You can say, cool, I'm gonna implement you into this machine, and it's gonna take you for an, you know, kind of pop you out the other end with the result that you need. Step 5 is to create a absolute no-brainer bulletproof offer around your solution, because your solution doesn't really mean much. Okay, your solution doesn't mean anything until someone actually understands your offer and wants to buy it. Okay, firstly, you need to create an offer. Your offer is like the offer is the front door. Okay, it's gonna either make them want to go in the front door or make them want to turn away, and then what's inside that front door is the solution that they would actually, you know, take and use to transform themselves. Firstly, though, you need to create your offer, and your offer needs to be so enticing, so good that it would make the person feel stupid to not go in that door. And the importance of an offer is just completely unparalleled. You know, you can really sell a box of shit if the offer of what you are selling is good enough and the packaging is pretty enough. The offer is your packaging. If you can make it so good, then you will have an absolute no problem at all at getting clients and selling your service. And your offer will consist of these things. Okay, write it down. Number 1, a high perceived likelihood of achievement. Does it actually seem like you can solve their problem with your offer? If you can, fantastic. You're more likely, or they're more likely to actually buy the thing that you're selling. Secondly, does your offer actually talk to your ideal customer? Does it talk directly to them? Does it solve their direct problems, or is it too generic? If it's too generic, people aren't going to feel touched enough. They're not going to feel brought out enough to actually want to buy it. So you've got to make sure that you are pointing at them directly. Thirdly, a good offer needs to have a very, very short time to delivery and time to achievement. If they start working with you, is it going to take 2 months to achieve the result, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months? The shorter you can make that gap between when they actually buy and when they receive, the better and sexier and crisper the offer is. Next, obviously, what is it going to cost them? And not only money-wise, but how much is it going to cost them in effort and sacrifices that they need to make as a result of buying your thing? Next, obviously, the guarantees, right? The guarantee is one of the most important things. Is there a guarantee in place? If not, put a guarantee in place. You lose absolutely nothing especially if you can actually deliver the skill that you're saying you can deliver. With those ingredients, you actually now have a good offer, and it's an offer that you can actually present to people that is attractive enough. Now you just need to kind of put it in a pretty package where you frame it in a certain way. You use the right language around the offer to actually present it in something known as an elevator pitch, which is what it says on the tin. It's a pitch that you can actually present in the duration of an elevator ride where you tell some person exactly what you do and how you can help them and what's in it for them. Also known as your I help sentence. It's I help person achieve result in a certain time frame with your unique mechanism, aka your skill, your service, without objection. Objection being typically the thing that they would say, this is why I don't want to do it. Because if you can preempt that and pre-counter that, you've got yourself a winner. The sixth step after creating an offer is actually just to do your outreach. You want to outreach to the people that you want to serve and hit them where it hurts. Once you've identified your exact market that you want to help, you need to understand where they actually live. Do they live on email? Do they live on DMs? Do they live on the phone? How can you hit them where they already are? Once you've understood that, then you can actually start doing your outreach. And your outreach will consist of your offer and a very, very human approach depending on the avenue that you're taking. Once you've done that, perfect. You can actually now move on to selling your solution. Here's an example of an outreach script and template that you would use on screen here. Now, to be good at selling your solution, you need to be good at sales. Sales basically being the process of actually understanding someone's problem, understanding their pain point, and seeing if you can actually solve their pain point with your solution. And if you've done it in the correct way, where you've actually identified a problem that you can solve and created a solution around your problem, this should absolutely be no problem, because all you're doing is understanding what their specific problem is. Selling your solution is having a conversation, is having a genuine and honest conversation to see if you can help someone, and if you can help them, you present your service as the one thing to go for, the solution that they need, and package it up in just the right way with just the right bows and whistles and ties on it to the point where it actually targets them as a person. Here's an example of the sales framework that you would use on the screen here. And then step 8 is actually to create a system of delivery. How are you actually going to deliver your skill? Depending on what your service is and what you're actually providing, you need to decide on how actually you're going to deliver it to said person. Are you going to teach them? Are you putting them in a course? Is it a done for you service? Is it a done with you service? Once you identify this, it's going to make your life so much easier because you actually know the frame and the format in which you're selling it, which is then going to allow you to scale and get more clients. Because if you don't know how you're selling it and you're doing it on a whim, perfect. You've got one client and that's going to be your next 9 to 5. So understand the system of delivery that you actually want to take it through. You know, how are you actually going to deliver it step by step? What process are you going to put it through? What framework are you going to put it through actually to get them from A to Z having the result that you so promised them? And this isn't rocket science, but it will heavily depend on the service that you're actually delivering. And then step 9 is to do step 6 and 7 over and over and over again. Keep doing it over and over again until people inevitably buy your service, buy what you're selling. Because doing all of that, going from step 1 to step 8 is going to give you everything you need. Now you just got to repeat the outreach process, and you've got to repeat the selling process, and of course the delivering process, and you will keep stacking up those clients. Now this is obviously a very, very basic framework to the entire thing, right? It's a basic outline of actually how you would go from nothing to identifying a skill to selling it to someone. Each individual step has its own rabbit hole that you will go down to actually understand it extremely well, but that's the basic framework that you need to follow. No more shitty business models, no more BS like, you know, the hottest business model of 2024. That isn't a thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense. You're selling a service that you're not good at and you don't understand, and you're selling it in a frame that typically doesn't work. Understand how to do these steps from step 1 to step 8, and you'll be able to sell anything that you want. You'll be able to make any kind of money that you want because it's universal. It's also an evergreen process. This isn't a process that's going to go out of trend in a couple months and you're not going to be able to do it again. This is something that people have been using since the 1900s and will continue using for the rest of the time, I don't know, business is a thing in the world, right? So when you learn this, and only when you learn this, will you actually be able to make the money that you want to make and make it when you want to make it, because this is the evergreen framework that makes money basically. And all you need to do from now is basically go into each individual step that I've gone through and learn how to do it in the most amount of detail that you possibly can. Go to step 3, identifying pain points, and look up how to identify a pain point. Do your market research. Then go into step 5 and learn how to create an offer around your solution. Okay, then dive into step 6. Really understand how outreach actually works. What are the persuasive methods and techniques within an email that get someone to want to jump on a call with you, so you can actually go through step 7, aka selling your service. Okay, each of these steps has its own rabbit hole, but once you're willing and once you're able to understand each and every single step, you'll make as much money as you want, because this is the exact framework that I've literally just used from scratch to prove to you and other people that it's possible. And if you want to learn more about this, check the TikTok out, check my Instagram out in my bio, because I documented pretty much every single step of the process, so you literally will not be left in the dark one bit. And subscribe, because we both know that you need to see more videos like this.